Welcome to 49 Sports Games and 49 Highlight Hockey. I'm going to show you how to set up and how to play the game. So you've got this main board, and I'll go through the components of the main board in just a minute. We have the possession face-off chart. We've got an assist chart, which is tucked away in the back here. We've got the assist chart. We'll leave it back there. I got a little score sheet that I made up. I'm going to play a game from 1966-1967 between Montreal and Chicago. And if you saw my other video, you know that I'm playing through that entire season, which has been a lot of fun so far. And well, I'm going to carry on with one of the games here. We'll finish the setup. We have the highlights deck. That's the main deck of the game. There's also the secondary deck, which is when there's a man advantage, being a power play or an empty net at the end of the game. And then the only other thing we're missing right now are the goalies. So there's Montreal's goalies and there's Chicago goalies. And wow, how long did that take? Not very long. That's the setup for the game. A few more things I'm going to put some tokens on. But before I do that, how about let me show you, take a little sidebar here, and I'm going to show you the 1966-67 season that I got going on and some of the results so far. So before we look at the standings, I just want to show you this little chart right here. I've started using an app. It's called Roll My Dice on my phone rather than actually rolling dice. And I've really liked it. But I had a question in my mind, is it accurate or not? Or is it skewed? And so I thought, well, this is a perfect opportunity because I got 5 different categories. And what these categories are the number of highlights per period. So this one is 6 in the first, 6 in the second, 6 in the third. You can see what the rest of them are. And this is what the percentage should be. So this 666 should be 33% of the time. And through 70 games, it's at 38.9. So it's a little bit high. The 555 is a little bit low. And they were both skewed a little bit more. They're slowly making their way back towards where they should be. This one is spot on. And these two are pretty close as well. So this is a D12. And so you've been through 6 full iterations of randomness for the dice. I'm guessing by the time it's 10 is when these should really be almost spot on. Okay, just slide over here quickly to the goals per game in my replay and actual. They are spot on. They haven't always been, and I don't expect that. It's just a fluke that it's. I almost wanted to play one more game so it wasn't spot on to show you. 10 games ago it was 5.81. 30 games ago it was 6.12. So it does fluctuate and vary, as does the actual, because this is the actual through the same number of games played. But it just shows through 72 games. It is pretty darn close, so I'm pretty happy with that. Power play goals are pretty close as well. The first 20 games of the year, I was around 1.1, which is typical for today's NHL. But back then it was only 0.6. So I decided to take a couple of the power play cards out of the deck when I'm playing this season, and it's this slowly coming down. It actually is averaging close to the 0.6. Shorthanded goals are pretty close too. Quick look at the standings. You can see Chicago in first place as they were. This is their win percentage that they actually had at 67. So you can see they're overachieving by 13% right now. The others are, there's still quite a bit of variation, which I think will probably slowly change as time goes on. New York and Detroit both a little bit above, and that's why we've got them in the top 3. And Toronto, Montreal, you know, they're closer to like 10% below where they should be, and they've been even lower. They're just starting to make their way up. And the Bruins have, they were overachieving, and now they're back to kind of where they should be. What was fun is about 10 games ago is Detroit, Toronto, Montreal, and Boston were all within 1 point of each other. And I thought, you know what, maybe the Bruins, with Bobby Orr playing all year in his rookie season, maybe that'll be enough to make a difference that they can make a run at the playoffs. But alas, it is not. So I'm just playing this with stock team charts. I'm not making any changes. So Bobby Orr actually is going to get to play his entire year. One of the reasons why the Blackhawks have been overachieving a little bit is this top line has been almost unstoppable. So Mikita, Hull, and Warren, that's the top line. Doug Moens is also out there. He's on the power play, and he plays defense as well. If I look at their team, let's go down here. So you can see Mikita up here. It's goals per game through the replay, goals per game actual. So he's only 0.1 above where he should be, and his points per game is actually only 0.2 above where he should be. So there's a difference over here. You can see Moans is a little bit above, Worm's a little bit above, Bobby Hull is spot on, and the rest of the guys are pretty close. Other than Eric Nestorenko, he's a little bit of an outlier right now too. He has 12 goals, so he's way above his season average of 0.2. He's at 0.5. That's because he had a couple of multi-goal games. And so that's why he's above. I'm guessing by the time we get to like 46 games, that's probably going to level out for him. Looking at the goalies, they are actually all pretty close to what their goals against average is. I haven't really checked it against wins and losses. I just was more interested in the goals against average. One outlier is Glenn Hall. And you can see he's 8-0-1, a 1.22 goals against average. I think his season average was just over 2. It was about 2.2, something like that. It just seems like in the 9 games that he's played, he's been going up against Boston and Detroit, and also been pulling these cards here, which are the low highlights per game. It just seems like that's the way it's worked out. So it'd be interesting to see if he stays that good, and if he does, if he's able to help Chicago overcome the playoff woes that they actually had that year. Goal scoring leaders, you can see Gordie Howe leading the way, 17 goals. He had a hat trick. He's had a couple of multi-goal games. Some other fun names, Bobby Hull and Raj Gilbert and Paul Henderson getting ready for that 72 Summit Series. So definitely it's been a fun replay. I'm going to see the whole thing through to the end, although I know it's going to take me many months to get there. I'll just pop over here to show Vancouver Canucks, and look at their 24-25 in season. And what I did was I played the first 25 games using in-season set number 1, and now it'll be up to game 47 for in-season set number 2, and right now I'm at 36, so I'm starting to get through it. This is all highlight hockey, as is 1966-67. They're all highlight hockey. I haven't played any of those games at all with QuickDecks. You can see the Canucks record, 20-11-5 versus 17-11-8. That's pretty close. I'm using just the stock lineups that come, the team cards. I'm not doing any modifications to it. But one project that I am doing that with is the 74-75 Vancouver Canucks, where I'm playing through each of their games on the day that it was played, or as close to it as I can, and using the as played lineups. That little check mark there is just my reminder that I've gone through and looked at their team chart and updated it. So you can see I got a little work to do. I usually do about 3 or 4 games ahead. I get the team charts ready to go, print them off, so I want to sit down and play. I sit and play. About half the games, well, more than that, probably 2/3 of the games have been with QuickDecks. Some of those I did highlight hockey in the first 2 periods and then went to QuickDecks for the 3rd period. A couple of these recent games, because I've been busy with another project, I've been playing just straight highlight hockey. And then some, when I have the opportunity, I'm not using any highlight hockey, I'm just playing QuickDecks. So that's just a couple of the projects that I got going on, but I wanted to quick sidebar to show you that. Now let's go back to the rest of the setup for the Montreal Canadiens and the Chicago Blackhawks. All right, so we got tokens here. Let's get these set up, and we'll take a quick look at the game board while I'm doing it. So these first 3 tokens I'm setting on here are for the player selection row, and that should look familiar to QuickDecks Hockey. It's exactly the same. The next 2 rows, it says O check and D check. A lot of the cards are going to be for skill check, and this determines what the skill is. So we get some randomization going on. You can see there's a O rate, forecheck, pass assist, or on the defensive side, you got takeaway, hitting, puck move. And then on the very bottom 2 rows, we need randomization for the lines, because unlike QuickDecks Hockey, you just don't rotate through the lines. Down here, we've got forward lines, and the bottom row is the defensive pairings. Okay, we've got a couple of tokens that want to go on the goalie, and same over here, we got the tokens out for the lines. Put that over there. To start with, we'll figure out the lines here in just a minute. And then we also need to, oops, wrong side, decide on strategy. And as you can see, the options are more limited than QuickDecks Hockey. They are clear and pass out coming out of your own end, or dump and chase and pass in. Of course, pass out and pass in are definitely more risk reward. And each team is rated either on the card, the team card, or in some of the earlier seasons that I did, there'll be a card about this size that explains what their preferences are. And what you're going to do is roll a d12. I roll a d12, and this will be in the instructions. And if you're playing balanced, it's a 1 to 6. If it's playing out of your defensive end, 1 to 6 is a clear, and a 7 to 12 is pass out. If you're playing clear, then it's a 1 to 9 is clear and 10 to 12 is pass out. You're just not always going to play clear. Or in the case of Chicago, they play pass out. It's a 1 to 9 they play pass out, and a 10 to 12 they were going to play clear. So, oh yeah, don't let me forget the 3D printed puck, which shows who has possession. I put it in the middle if it's a face-off, and then either side depending who has possession. And you notice the chart here, it says possession face-off. You get down where you can get a better look at it here. So it's possession face-off. It's not just a face-off, although a lot of these do reference a face-off, but other just goes to sometimes it's skill, sometimes what else have we got here if it's home or visitors. All right, so that goes there. Now we got a D12. So what I'm going to do is roll D12 to populate the board, because I want to randomize these. I don't want them to always be the same. You could probably get away with doing a D6. D6 would work well, but I like a D12 because it gets a little bit more variation. So I'm going to do a 10, a 1, and a 5. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, a 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And roll a couple more. We have an 8 and a 2. Well, the 2 is easy. The 8 is going to be there. And then the bottom one, which is what lines are on the ice. And we got the 4 and a 2. Okay, so that's pretty much got that set. The way you check goals is the exact same as QuickDex Hockey. You're going to roll on the goalie and you're going to roll on the shooter, but we're going to get to that in just a few minutes. Maybe I'll go get a tray to roll on rather than having everything scatter around, because that wouldn't be good. But let's do the strategy next. So I'm going to roll a D12 for Montreal. So this is the defense, and they are going to be playing pass out. 1 to 6, it would have been playing clear. Now 1 to 9 means they play pass in, or 10 to 12, and it's a 3. So they do play pass in rather than dump a chase. Chicago is a 1 to 9 for a pass out. They're going to play pass out, and a 1 to 9 for a pass in, and they're going to play pass in. So how's our strategies done? Now we're going to do the goalies. Goalies, they are going to take 2 die. So we have Montreal, we have Gump Worsley, Gary Bauman, who only played a few games, Charlie Hodge, and Rogie Vachon. So they had quite a few goalies. There's a number there that shows the D20. And then we're going to see if they're shaky, solid, or good. So we'll roll both of them. And it's a 3 and an 8. So the 3 means that it's going to be Charlie Hodge is going to be in goal. And the 8 is in the good column. And now with Highlight Hockey, you're only ever going to use the rebound rating on the goalie. And so we're going to just put that there like that as a reminder that Charlie Hodge is a 5. And now for Chicago, Dennis DeJordy, he's a 1 to 12. Glenn Hall is a 13 to 20. And remember from the stats what a great year Glenn Hall's having. But let's see who's going to be in net. No, it's going to be 5 and a 10. So 5 is going to be DeJordy. 10 is almost a solid, but he's just good. But his good rating is a 6, which is pretty solid as well. There you go. So that's pretty much got everything ready to go for the start of the game. What I'm going to do now is start playing. And you do the lines first. So the forward line, it says the visitor second line is going to be the forwards, and home is the third. So there's the lines. The D is their third. Now here's one of the anomalies with playing in 1966-67, which is before they had a full complement of players. And the way I play it is in the first and third periods, I'm going to run 4 forward lines and 2 defensive pairings. In the second period, I'm going to run 3 forward lines and 3 defensive pairings. And the reason that is you notice that Doug Moens for Chicago, he's playing D on the third pairing. He's also the second line left winger. Well, a lot of teams, Montreal did not have that, but a lot of teams do. And so it's a way of not having Doug Moen's out on the ice at the same time as Doug Moens is out on the ice. So that's kind of how I get around that with this 1966-67 replay. So you'll see that there's no right winger on the fourth line. So I've got this little token here that I'm going to put beside, well, Kenny Warren, he can be the first up on the fourth line the first time the fourth line comes out. And you can randomize and just choose however you want to put that extra player out. So Montreal will be the same thing. You see their fourth line, they have no center. So Henri Richard is going to be the center for that line. Okay, we're pretty much set up and we are ready to go. And so I don't check possession face-off to start with. I usually flip a card over because about half the cards do not require a possession face-off check. And so it just might save a little bit of time throughout the game. This first card says that the puck possession team moves into the attack zone. Pass goes to the FD, so we'll see who the FD is from the player selection row, and it's a choice location +4. So this one we do need to know who has possession. So this is a D20. So I'm just going to roll a D20, and it's a 19, and it says that the home center is tossed out. So Bill Hay is no longer in. So Chico Mackey, he's a 4. Beliveau an 8. Let's see if it's a face-off. Well, Chico Mackey just got tossed out too. So now it's going to be Dennis Hull taking the draw. And 18, it goes to the high. Well, Hull's a 2. Belivau's an 8. So Montreal has possession. It says the FD, in this case it's their left winger, shoots from choice from in or from 4, and it's a forward. So we are going to have Claude LaRose shoot inside. So he's going to be a 9, and against Dennis DeJordy's a 6. So the D20 is a 9, and it's outside of his, outside of Dennis DeJordy's 2. So that means it's an okay rebound. And you can see there's a couple options on the rebound. So we jump down to this section here. If it's any save, or if it's a rebound okay, and this is a rebound okay because it's out of both of their ranges. Defender gains control. So we switch control over to Chicago. Rotate the lines. So we're going to rotate 1. And then you go to the next card. You could see the other 2. I'll just go through these other 2 right now quickly too here. It says puck possession gets a rebound, forward in +6. So you'd resolve that the same way, except for you take the next forward. In this case, it would be the center, but he has to have a shoot rating of 5 or more. And if he does, then he gets the shot from in +6. If he doesn't, in this case, it would be create. And there's a chart for this. Create means that this card is completed. Montreal would have kept possession of the puck and go on to the next card. If there was a second rebound, puck was out of play, there's a face-off to start the next card. So you just move the little token back to there and you go on to the next card. Okay, so we have Chicago with possession. And one thing we didn't check on is this card here, which is how many highlight cards per period. So we're going to roll a D12 because we should do that before we get too far along. And it's a 5. And a 5 means there's a 5, 5, 5. So there's going to be 5 cards in each of the periods. And you'll see at the end of the third period, we might come into the empty net cards. And so there could actually be 6 or 7. But we'll get to that. Okay, so Chicago has the puck. And see, this is why I don't do possession check first, although we didn't need to because Chicago had the puck. But this is a penalty. And it says it's against the highest on the ice. So I look and see, so Kenny Worm's a 2, 7 for Ken Hodge, 9 for Ed Van Imp. Terry Harper's an 8. So this is on Ed Van Imp is the one that's getting this penalty. So if it's tied, both teams are going to get a power play and use a new card for each. And I'll show you how this works here. If both teams are less than 6, which they're not, then there's some more text there. And what's asking here is we're going to see which special team unit. I'm going to roll a D12, a 1 to 8, it's the first unit. And a 9 to 12, it's the second unit. So for Montreal, it's their second unit. Now, a lot of times I will have the special teams printed. In this case, I do. And they're on the back side. It's kind of where I like to have them. It's their second unit out. If we need the short man, which we might, then we'll flip the Chicago card over as well. So we turn over this highlight card, and guess what? We're going to have to flip Chicago's over here. Because this text says, okay, plays in the short man end. Power plays D, pinch in and get caught. Short man gets control for a breakaway. So the short man's high shoot, so we got their second because it was second lines that are out there. So their high shoot on the second is going to be Stan Mikita. And he gets a high shoot from choice, which is inside +8. So he's a 14. So it's a 14 versus a 5. So here's a pretty good chance for a shorthanded goal. So 14, let's roll it first. He's 11, so it is in. So Charlie Hodge needs a 1 to 5 to make the save, and he doesn't. So Stan Mikita, just like that, has a shorthanded goal for Chicago, and we move them up, and they're leading 1-0. I would write in there, and who got the assists, and that's where this assist chart comes in. You're going to roll a D20, and well, this is on the power play side. They were not power play. That would have been Montreal. So it's just even strength, or for the, if you're shorthanded, and see who has the assists. So this chart works really well. I can see continually tweaking it over time to see if I can make it even better than what it is right now. But what I like about it is you get the right number of assists, and it's really fast. Okay, let's go on to the next card. So it's 1-0 Chicago. We got a face-off going. Now we do new lines because it wasn't rotate, so we have to come up with new lines. So the first is the forwards. Oops, we got to get off special teams. So we got forwards, 1. Top lines are out there. And defense is going to be the 3, but there are no third pairing defense in the first and third period, so you just rotate around to the first. So the top guys get out there more often, which is what would probably happen. Okay, we turn over a new card. And this card is, well, it's based on strategies. And so we need to know who has possession. So we roll a D20, and it's a 16. It says home takes possession. So just that easy to find out that Chicago has possession. Are they playing pass out or clear? We know they're playing pass out. Their pass is intercepted. Defender with a quick counterattack for a 2-on-1 odd man rush. So in a 2-on-1, you take the next 2 along the forward line. In this case, it's the center and the right winger. So they are on a 2-on-1. The higher a pass assist passes to the other. So who did I say? It was the center and the right winger. Yeah, your IQ goes down significantly, as everybody's told you. So the higher pass assist is Bobby Rousseau. Rousseau's going to feed Henri Richard. He's in +10. So 10 and 4 is 14. But you can only go 3 times whatever your number is. So he's actually going to be a 12. Can't be above a 12. So he's a 12. DeJordy's a 6. Let's see if it's within. A 12 is a 19, so it's out of range. And a 10 is out of range, so it's a rebound okay. So go back to the card. Rebound okay. Defender gets to the rebound. So in this case, it's Chicago because we had the change of possession. Rotate lines and go to the next card. So we rotate lines and we go to the next card. This is the 4th of 5. And it's another strategy. But we already know Chicago's got it. And they are playing pass in. Do they have 2 creates of 12 or more? Well, here's the create column down here, and Phil Esposito's a 12, Doug Moans is a 15. So they do have that. So they move into the attack zone. Now we see who the forward is, and it's going to be the center. So Phil Esposito is going to get an inside shot +10. 10 and 5 is 15. 5 times 3 is 15. So he does get a 15. So let's roll and see if he's within range. 18, oh, he's not. He didn't get a real good shot. So 1 to 5, Charlie Hodge makes the save. And we got to go chase this across the floor, and it's a 12. And of course, depending on your house rules, some say it has to stay in the table to count, but I'm going to take the 12. So we're going to go to just a rebound. See, in this particular instance here, there's no rebound okay or rebound good. It's just rebound. So every rebound says if the high defender forward D rate is 9+. So Montreal's on defense. Sure, Beliveau and LaRose are both 9+. So go to the second rebound. Second rebound says defender gains control. So Montreal's going to gain control. Rotate lines. Rotate from both sides. And go to the next card. And this will be the final card of the first period, the final highlight card. And it just says home team has control. So much for Montreal having control. Chicago gets it back. They move into the attack zone. The pass goes to the center. In this case, it's Bill Hay from choice +8. So his max can be 15, but 8 and 5 is 13. So his number is a 13. Let's see if we can roll inside a 13 for Bill Hay, and we don't. He doesn't get a perfect shot either. So Charlie Hodge needs a 1 to 5 to make the save. It's an 8. He makes a save, but it's an okay rebound. And this says that the puck possession team gets rebound. So Chicago has it. Pass goes to right winger, because he's next along the line there in the slot. So Chico Mackey's a 3. Plus 5 is 8, so that's within his maximum. His maximum will be 9. Okay, so Mackey with an 8. And it was a 3, so he's on target. Charlie Hodge needs a 1 to 5 to make the save, or it's going to be a 2-0 game. Hodge makes a save, big save. Rebound good. So it goes to... Oh, wait a second. So here's, yeah, it's not a, it is rebound good, but this rebound is on the first rebound. Second rebound, this is the second rebound. And so it says defender gets control, rotate lines, go to the next card. So they don't get the 2 first rebounds because that was the second shot of that card. So that's how that works out. And that would be the end of the first period. So Montreal is trailing Chicago 1-0. So we just turn that back into a face-off. We rotate lines now. So it's forwards 3 and D's 1. And they happen to be out on the ice right now. I move these little markers down as a reminder to myself that we're going 3 forwards and 3 defensive pairings. Well, that seems like a good place to stop this video. In the next video, we're actually going to play through an entire game so you get a chance to see all the different types of cards, because there was a couple of the types of cards you didn't get to see today. So 40 total cards in the highlight deck. Any game is going to be just under half of those, so you get some really good variability. Okay, let's take a look now at the second season reveal of the 4 that I'm going to have ready when the highlight hockey game is ready to ship out. And we're going to go back to 1976-77. Bobby Hull, he was 38 years old. He scored 21 goals. Dave Keon, he was 36. He played in 76 games. He scored almost a point a game. King Richard Brodeur, he was 28 and 19 that year, although not for the Canucks. That would come later. And if you're thinking to yourself, hey, wait a minute, those guys didn't play in the NHL that year, you're right. They played in the WHA. And that is the next season, the 1976-77 WHA season. I've just got the 1, so the next 2 weeks is going to be back to the NHL. But if it's well received, I definitely would do some more. It was a bit of a challenge to figure out how to do team cards for the 49 hockey, but I've got it figured out now, so it's easy to go ahead and create some new seasons. So if the interest is there, we'll do some more WHA seasons. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on 49 Sports Games.